Would you just look at that? Now, the bad news is these are gunshot wounds, but the good news is no one got hurt and we can still have some fun with these things at the range. So that's exactly what we're going to do right here, right now. It's unloaded, right?
Of course.
Good. All right, now before we start sending some rounds downrange with these guys, we gotta explain that being shot for a rifle scope does have a few disadvantages. Kind of funny how that works, right? So in the case of this Viper 4-12x40, what we have here is a pretty significant hole directly through the objective end of this thing. Now again, like we said, we've put this on all of our optical test equipment, everything like that. Everything still functions just fine, but of course, when you do have a massive hole through the body of the scope, things like waterproofing and fog-proofing aren't going to work tremendously anymore. But that said, that won't stop us from having some fun at the range, like we said. Now, in the case of this Viper HST that we're going to take out as well, now if you follow us on Reddit, you might have seen this before, actually. This one, despite having a pretty gnarly-looking objective end, actually, when you look through it, you can't even see that. Now, maybe later on we'll get into the nerdy reason as to why that's the case. But anyway, as you can see, this is the lock ring that was shot, actually, that holds the objective cell in place. So while this scope is going to experience some pretty significant parallax error from that objective lens no longer being held in place completely properly, actually under recoil it does still at least stay in place enough that with an accurate and reliable zero using our reticle, we can shoot out to some distance. So let's say this was a customer who had their scope out and this happened to it. They could actually still use their scope with, again, a reliable zero and finish out their hunt, let's say, and then get it right back into us to get repaired. Now, of course, probably many of you are wondering what the heck is the story behind these two. And for this one here on the Kimber that we have, it was actually in from a dealer of ours. And now, while it wasn't the dealer's fault, while we're not at liberty to fully go into all the details, it was a little bit of an oopsie in the dealer, and luckily no one was hurt. Again, this was kind of the thing that took the brunt of the gunshot, if you will. And again, luckily also it was a Vortex product, so they're covered. That dealer ended up getting a brand new scope, and all is well. We're gonna end up having some fun with this optic here, of course. This one came in from a customer who is actually out west hunting and is the result of a totally freak and completely uncommon altercation out there. So anyway, again, luckily this was the only thing really harmed. I think that the rifle made it out with a couple of scratches, and it was on the back of an ATV, so hopefully their ATV's all good. But again, this guy is running around now with a brand new HST after this one, and we'll shoot this one. A lot of the folks on Reddit who saw it wanted to know if it still worked, and so we'll show you that actually you can get some decent shooting out of it still. It has a little bit of life left. So anyway, with that said, let's get these guys mounted up and let's hit the range. All right, now last time on Vortex Life, we did mention that we were going to be doing a survival rifle challenge. Now stay tuned because we are still going to do that. We're still waiting on one of the survival rifles to show up. So in the meantime, it's not every day that you get a rifle scope that's been shot, much less two rifle scopes that have been shot in some fairly crazy fashion. So we've got these set up here. Back at the studio, you might have seen that we had one of them on a 30-06, that fine Kimber. However, when we told a couple of the folks who hunt around here that we were going to be shooting a 30-06 with a pretty nasty muzzle brake, they said, during deer season? Are you kidding us? So we've got two suppressed 6.5 Creedmors out here. We'll be swapping around this suppressor for a bit. But Rube just got done setting up targets. We're going to send it here with a few of our in-house fine shooters. And we'll see how these things do. They've been acclimating to the cold weather. Like we said, these aren't exactly fog-proof anymore now that they have a gaping hole in them, but they're looking pretty good. Got targets set up. Let's do this thing.
Do some shooting at 1 and 200 yards. I've got it zeroed at 1, and we'll do some dialing around and hit it out at 2, and just goes to show what a rifle scope can really take for damage and still keep ticking. So without any further ado, let's try it at 100. Definitive impact. I hit it again just to confirm. They appear to be on top of each other. We'll move it out to 200. Give a little correction here. dead centered. Just stacking it. It's shooting as good as any other optic would, whether it would have a giant gaping hole in it or not. One dark spot appearing on the steel. Should we insert the device?
Do it.
Here I have the device. Nice piece of, appears to be corn. So we're gonna just put it through the scope here. It's a good windicator. And it's gone completely through, so I can see it on both sides. Get a good picture of that there. It's coming through the other side here. All right, 100 yards. Here we go, with the device inserted. That's a definitive impact. Let's bring her out to 200, again with the device inserted. What do you say we bring her to 3? Little wind pickup. Dare I try 4? There's an impact. Well, if that doesn't go to show how tough a rifle scope really is, we have a corn stalk quite literally sticking through the objective end of this 4-12 Viper. That's a first for me. All right, getting behind the Ruger American Predator and the HST with the completely screwed up objective, and that is incredible. A lot of the lock ring that actually holds the lens in place has been moved over completely, still holding the lens in place. Now, not so much on the edge, but more in the middle. Well, we are going to, we're going to shoot this at 100, 200, 300 and try to get out to 400 with it. As you can see, again, the reticle is in a compromised, or excuse me, the objective cell is in a compromised position here. The lock ring that holds it in place obviously took a little bit of damage there, but we should be able to shoot it just fine. Like I said earlier, we zeroed, so let's give this a go here. We'll start off at 100 here. I'll just call that a hit. Work out to 2. Again, I can't really see any obstruction with the objective lens. 200. Work out to 300 here. See if we can get her out to 4. Oh, just low. Again at 400 here. No spot. I think we'll leave 4 alone. This has become pretty evident as we're working out here at distance that parallax error induced very likely from the large gaping maw that is the front of our objective cell here is keeping us from making reliable impacts at 400 yards. But this just goes to show, if you have an established 0 at 100, and assuming that the mounting system wasn't compromised by, say, an impact like this, you can still salvage your hunt or your shoot. If you can't get the optic into us right away, that's not that big a deal, so long as the optic is, you know, well mounted. So I'm able to hit 1, 2, and 3 pretty darn easy. At that point in time, the VIP warranty is going to cover you anyway, so know that as long as you can get that established 0 and shoot off your reticle to a reasonable distance, you're covered. Finish your hunt out, get a hold of us afterwards. We'll have you back up and running in no time. As always, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always here for you. Have a great day.
All right, next time you're out at the range, you can have a little fun of your own. See how much of an obstruction you can put in front of your own objective lens. We'll probably be surprised how much you can do without actually seeing it, just because that's so far out from the actual focal point inside the rifle scope. It's pretty awesome. Now make sure you're tuning in next time because we are going to get to that survival rifle challenge. I've got one of them here and that final one is on the way. Also make sure you're asking us your questions because we're going to be doing more Ask Vortex events as well. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Happy shooting.